What's going on in that head of yours?
Something little B said it. He said, Dad, you're not afraid of anything. But I am. I'm afraid of losing someone I love.
First of all, sir, congratulations on the film. I got to see it. It is epic. It is incredible. It is something you'd be so proud of. But I think what's so interesting about this one is it's such a return to form in the sense that, yeah, the family is expanding, but what's so crazy about this one is you weaponize that expansion and how the more family you get, the more family you have to protect. Talk about what it was like seeing Dom learn that lesson in this installment, because it's so cathartic in a lot of ways.
It's very cathartic in a lot of ways. First of all, we were entering in production after the pandemic. You know, we were all going through this very arduous time. And so one of the concepts was to say, this character that we're so accustomed to having the answers, there was a need for us to relate to the audience. And collectively, as a society, we all are kind of scratching our heads and asking, how are we going to raise our kids in this tumultuous world? And for some reason, that was the concept. That was the seed of saying, let's have Dom be so relatable to the audience that he's questioning. As you see, it's the first time where he says, I don't know what the plan is. Anybody that has a family, it is what makes us all vulnerable. Anybody can relate to that. This is a multi-generational saga. In the beginning, in 2001, they had no vulnerabilities. And in many ways, Dom was reluctant to have kids within the saga, potentially because he didn't necessarily trust where civilization was. You know that anybody that you know that ends up committing to having a family, when they commit to having a family, you know they're now really invested in civilization.
The future.
The future. The number one question to ask anybody in the world, anywhere, are you pro-civilization or not?
I do want to add this one thing there. Everybody talks about everyone that you sort of bring into this, but those barbecue scenes are so sacred in this franchise, and then adding Rita Moreno to this installment of that had to be like, if you're gonna do an abuela, she really does.
Well, think about that. So we added, in the previous film, brother, and we added the father that was promised in the first film. In most family structures around the world, the most regarded archetype in the family is the grandmother, plain and simple. If we were going to present the most powerful archetype in the Toretto family, who could you hire? Who could you cast? We were so blessed and fortunate to be able to cast the incredible talent of Rita Moreno. I remember someone saying, and this is really a trip, that her being in Fast 10, and this is deep, and people have to figure this out, was the promise of her groundbreaking Oscar in 1962.
If you never would have gotten behind that wheel, I'd never be the man I am today. And now, I am the man who's going to break your family. Piece by piece.
I took inspiration from really weird things. I just imagine what it would be like to be the devil. To me, the devil is something that's like very inviting, something that's you're seduced by. So I don't think there's any way you can play with humor and sexy, or you can play it any way you want to, but the root of it all, it's like he obsessed about destroying Dom on the highest level. And he's had everything taken away from him. So I just, you sit with that thing in there and go like, this is all he wants to do is really wear the skin of Dom. He wants this family. He wants to be like that. He's had everything taken away from him. And when you obsess about someone like that, it's pretty crazy. And so I feel like I wanted to make these colors. It was inspired by these pastel colors, this necklace that my friend made. And I built the character on just colors of like being very inviting and warm, and he's fun and flamboyant, and you're like, wow, this is something I'm attracted to. And then once you get close, he's absolutely terrifying. And then like the things he wants to do is like, it's beyond, he's so obsessed. I always kind of go off of like animals, and then I start with like little weird the things that really lean heavy on props and on wardrobe to help me build a character. So I came in with a lot of ideas, and then they liked it, and I just kind of wanted to have this character who's kind of just freshly and he just has aloha for everyone, but then when you get in close, he's like, he cannot be trusted, and he's like so evil. In my career, it's probably the funnest role I've ever played. I did not see it coming and being like, oh, I'm going to be in Fast and I'm going to have so much freedom and be able to do something this wacky. But yet, Louis encouraged it. And I really, had a lot of time with Vin and going like, hey, my job is to be the most horrible villain for you and make this franchise even bigger and be something that you just go, you want to take him out, but you can't stop watching him. But you're like, he has to die because this is my family. And so it's gonna make people just go like, oh, I don't liking him, but I like him, and I'm like, wow, that's horrible. You shouldn't. And like you're that's what I would want to see. My job is just to go like, hey man, I'm just trying to make your story better and build a better character that just people want to go like, you don't know how to feel about it. I think everyone's seen it except for me at this point. I have a really solid idea that I pitched to Louis, and I'm hoping it comes true. Can't say anything about it, but I think if it was done this way, I think it's going to make him even more evil. I'll say this. We didn't get to see what he was like with his father. But if he were to have something we got to see him really care about something, and you see where his heart is, and then we fall for that, and the audience gets to feel that, then we take it away. And then we get to see what he really is going to do.
Let's start back at the beginning, shall we? Los Angeles, 2001. Humble roots, local kids, street racers who became hijackers.
I want to say, just with the three of you sitting here, I'm already kind of just really thinking about seeing you in this film and how incredible you are. And then also the incredible action filmography I'm sort of staring at. I will say, between the Marvels, going back to like Girl Fight, I'm going to just say Aeon Flux because people forget, but I will always be a stan. I think all of you have so much that you've given to action, but I will say with Charlize and Michelle coming in together to be able to do that scene that y'all did together, I have to think every stop led you to be able to do that, because I heard, was it just the two of you sort of like mapping that out together and really sort of like setting up the action that day?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely didn't have a first team director.
Wow.
So I would say, yeah. Olivier was incredibly helpful. He was choreographed. Our stunt guy.
We'll talk about that day, set it up for us, like just starting that when you realized you were going to kind of be on your own, and how'd you guys sort of like talk through? That's got to be a fun morning.
I feel like by then you've done so much prep. It'd be hard to say like, oh, we're going to do the scene tomorrow and we haven't really walked it or blocked it, and would you guys do this without, right? I feel
you set the tone, Bab. To be fair, you set the tone. You were like a machine walking in there. And that made me feel very secure. In knowing that like no one's nervous about like having to do this, and that we're prepared enough to like pull off, all the pushes that we put in for Olivier and the fight sequence. I think we did a good job.
I did that other fight for the week prior to doing the one with
Oh, that was a monster. That was really good.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw this, right?
Yes, I've seen it.
So good.
I did all of
that.
Everything, the elevator, all of it, and then I had to fight her.
Yeah. She was in the flow, man.
When she talks about fear, I was like, I don't think my 50-year-old body is going to be able to do it.
Don't say that again. Gee, can we just give it up again one more time?
Wait,
I'm sorry.
did
when
you
people
see that?
see that,
Really?
Jesus.
Yeah, my body was broken, dude.
Can you see that
No.
that 5-0 in
No.
her? I don't.
Oh
It's
no,
a
I'm not.
lie.
I am almost. I'm going to be 48. My daughters hate when I
Why
do
you
that.
push?
Oh, so
I
you
just rounded off. I rounded off.
But
guys,
you
it's
still,
okay.
but you still are kicking
No,
butt, and
no,
you kick
honey.
my
Oh,
butt.
I'm gonna be kicking butt for a long
She's
time.
42 forever in my book.
And I will say, Brie, I will say, if I would have thought that when I saw you first pull that Jeep getting ready for Captain Marvel, that I would be seeing you continue it and now join the family and like be in the Fast franchise. I didn't know this is where you would go down this sort of like action path.
Imagine how it feels for me. It's really confusing. It's all involved. Yeah.
No, but talk about it because one thing I will say, you're clearly having fun. I can tell you're having fun with the character and everything you're doing with her. So what are you drawing upon? Because I heard maybe it is about family, even in what you're drawing on when you're playing, your version of
Yes,
this.
I literally based the character off of Vin's family, so it's really imbued with family.
What does that feel like when you have that first conversation to be like, hey, just so you know, it's her, and then maybe saying it to her even?
Yeah, well, I told them right away.
Yeah.
Because I also just want to be like, is it okay?
Yes.
I don't want to be a creep.
But this is obviously what it is. And she's a genius. I mean, his kids are geniuses. So,
Did you get any notes afterwards? Not that they would, but I'm just curious.
I didn't get notes afterwards, but I got heavily interrogated upon entry. Yes, it was. They were the three of them on one side of the table, me on the other, and they're like, "So what will you be bringing to the festival?"
Wow.
Oh wow! I just been cast the day before, and I was like, "Whoa, I gotta figure this out."
One thing I will say when folks do finally get to see it is I think everybody in this movie has a moment to shine. There's nobody that sort of doesn't get that moment of either levity or action or whatever. But I will say not just your fight scene, but every sort of fight scene within this has been epic. Is there one that sort of stands out to you? Because I feel at this point you're all experts on sort of the sort of Fast franchise as far as like cool moments either you've been a part of. Is there one out of this one or any of them that you're like, as we sort of near the final chapter, you want to say, don't forget this one? Because there's a lot of callbacks, I would say, in this one. Michelle, I'll start with you.
I'd have to say, hands down, all the love that I put in was for the fight with Charlize. And I feel like, the reason for that is because, I feel like as a fan, I don't get a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And I feel if I feel that way, then imagine, how many people who relate to me feel that way. And I feel like, you know what I mean? We got to represent. We got to bring it.
Definitely have to bring it.
It's always like a cat fight. Like if it's two girls.
Yeah.
It's never like a real fight, right? Still, that is the difference. We don't get a lot of that. So.
And I saw how much you both did in that one. The camera was right there on you on so many of those shots. They were definitely not pulling away. And
I could do that all day. I swear to God, it's so much fun.
So fun.
Bring it.
It's my favorite thing.
What are you talking about?
We don't need words, actually. We just fight. We don't need to talk about it. Just fight it.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
And I say this to the woman that produced the documentary on Stunt Women, which is an incredible one. I want folks to definitely check that out. But we're not going to leave the guys out completely because there's one guy in this one that I feel brought a lot of, let me just say, feminine energy to his character, and that is Jason Momoa. I want folks to really see what he does with this character because it is everything that I wanted to see in a villain and haven't seen in so long. It called back to like Batman villains in like the best way possible. You felt the mustache twirling, and I know you guys had fun watching it, especially I see you, Charlize.
Like day one, the first thing we shot was him entering my space, and he had a lace shirt on. and he would literally walk, and the lace shirt would just float perfectly. Bare chest, hair floating, and
the hell?
Every time I turned to look at him, I was doing that thing where you were talking about. I was like, holy shit. And then I'd be like, no, you're Cypher. You gotta be Cypher. Like, stay in the. You're mean too. But I was like, who pulls off a lace shirt?
Yeah.
His wardrobe in this is going to be talked about
He's
on
so good.
every
He's so
social
good.
media
But
platform.
to be fair, like if you ever see him in real life, like
Yeah, he pulls it. Yeah.
yeah, he
Sometimes
lives in
he forgets his pants.
he lives in his own planet. That one.
I definitely dig that one. I will add this really quickly because I feel he's somebody also that's joining in and brings his own particular energy. All of you have had, I think, great pairings out of this. Is there anyone you want to draft into the Fast franchise? Maybe like secretly to myself, like I want you to
Matt Damon,
draft
villain.
Sam.
Well, of
because
course.
I know
I
he would
like
want to be
that.
there.
Anywhere I go, Sam has to go.
Not that he has to,
We're
but
kind
I
of
just
a package deal at this
I
point.
would like to see that, and I think everyone else would too. That's all I will say. Anyone you'd want to draft
I'd
it?
say
It's still Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah. There's something about his Mr. Ripley-ness that I really like. I like how tricky he is, how conniving he is, and he's just really good at that. He's so good at that. I think he'd make a great villain.
He's got to do it now, Maddie. Come on.
Well, now I feel like I should say Ben Affleck. Let's get both of them and just like lean in all the way.
They would do it more like...
Doesn't it soften him when you bring Ben into it?
Soften who?
Soften Matt.
Don't Matt, you're not softened.
I'm all about that Matt Damon.
He's
such a good trickster, man. Like he's tricked me so many times. I'm like,
nice guy, right?
why do I think you're a nice guy? Because you're such a douche in this movie. Like I don't understand, and the fact that he tricks me like that, I think would make him a fantastic villain.
We get it.
Okay.
I get it.
I'm on this
Very
now.
clear, very well thought out.
Thank you.
There you go. Join us. It's gonna be awesome.
What's up?
Uncle Jacob?
Your dad sent me.
I'll start with this. You guys get to really lead into the action this time and actually do it together. Yeah. What was it like sort of doing an action sequence? I think with you especially, they haven't let you dabble as much in the action thus far, and you're kind of going into it with literally a bit of a pro, you know, from his days. So what was that like?
It was really fun. We were training parallel, so I didn't really understand. I was like, well, what's John working on right now? And you're like, don't worry about John. John's upstairs, like doing his thing, and then you're downstairs doing your thing, and then you guys have moments where you connect. But it all like cut together so well, and then we worked really hard to have the brother-sister thing going on, and it was just a beautifully choreographed sequence that was so much fun, and I'm so glad that everything we shot is in the film, because sometimes it doesn't work that way. So I was really grateful for that.
Yeah, they definitely caught a lot of what you were doing. They could tell from those close-up shots that it was really you doing it. So bravo on both sides.
That's what I wanted. Yes.
But I will say on your side of it, what was it like for you? Because again, I feel like you're no stranger to action films, but I think with this one it is a little different because there was this whole home invasion to it. It felt like the stakes were different this time.
True, and for me, like Jacob's a badass.
Yeah.
And very rarely do I get full badassery. So to be able to get into a fight where, you know, I take my lumps and you save the day, thank you very much. But usually I'm getting my ass kicked and trying to come out alive. This one was like full on badassery, so that was very fun.
Yeah, you definitely do get a man on a mission vibes that you sort of like take throughout this. But I will say before we even get there, we start with, I think, a very essential part of this entire franchise, which is a very great, heartfelt family moment at the barbecue. And I've heard both you and Michelle talk about how that's not scripted and you guys just sort of live in those moments. Talk about filming that, because I guess if you're gonna do an abuelita that we haven't seen, you're gonna do it with Rita Moreno, so that would be a great one to do it. But that does make unscripted moments a bit harder, I would imagine.
Not really, because she's a veteran who's leading the charge. So her ability to improv and to bring in beautiful things along with Vin was really fun to watch. I will have to say, though, they had to go, guys, stop talking. Because we'd be like, tell us about this experience, Rita. And what was Warren Beatty like? And so they did have to stop us from pestering her. Because we really did. I mean, we had a legend on set.
I think I'm more thinking about the intimidation factor more so than like anything she would bring, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, I would like be flustered talking to her at any moment, you know what I mean?
She was so warm that after a couple of hours,
it's just all gone.
Yeah.
That's what it's just like, it's too sad to even think they could be that talented and then nice on top of it, so that's so great
pretty amazing
to hear. I will say with you, sir, again, I feel like this film brings up everyone's talents, but I felt you were especially right at home playing Uncle through so much of this. I don't know if folks know about your Make the Wish record, but I just feel like as far as making little kids' dreams come true, you've done a lot of that. And like, let's be real, traveling across the country with John Cena has got to be a lot of kids' dreams. What was that like for you to sort of like live in that for a lot of the film?
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. It was fun. A lot of fast is under the gun action and what's the next play, and we got to lean into a relaxing road trip at points.
Yeah.
And got to really lean into that cool uncle or trying to be cool uncle. You know, it was fun. It really was fun. A little bit unexpected, but I like it. I like it.
The one thing I will say though, even though it is like a little bit of a detour from what we normally see in Fast, it is the same in the sense of like, of course you're still going to get an action sequence. Of course you're going to be doing like tinkering of the tools and a machine gun car. You have your cool moments in this, sir,
No,
as
I'm not
well.
saying, I'm not saying it doesn't lack adventure. It certainly does, but to be able to just be in a car together or
Yeah.
be on a plane together
Yeah.
and have a few moments before the next cool thing happens. It was very, very nice.
I will say, because I do want to bring up the machine gun car, there's so many cars in this, but that one has got to be a prop that, I don't know, how does that go for you? How much of that do you get to play with? How much of that is real? Because that just seems like the ultimate big kid's toy.
Yeah, and it's real. Like they made multiple practical versions.
Wow.
And it's something you read and you're like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see it. And then when you see it really, you're like, whoa, it's so much better than I imagined. And that's hats off to, you know, the people making the material for Fast. They love it just as much as we love being in it, just as much as fans around the world love the movies, and they want to make it the best they can.
Oh, yeah, and I hope they get that out there for folks to like take a peek at it, because
It's
again,
awesome.
when they do get to see it, they're gonna want to have it at home. For your character in this one, again, the moments that we see her, it's very heightened. I think everyone in this film, it's under siege of the sort of like grand character that is Jason Momoa. He really does sort of set villains in this franchise apart, because he is something we have not seen or the likes of yet, and I don't think he can be equaled in this. Talk a little bit about that for you to be, you've been through so many of these different iterations, what he brings to the table and really sort of like changing what we know a villain in this franchise can be.
I think what's horrifying about Dante is he doesn't give an F. So
Yeah.
like there is nothing you can hold over him. There's nothing that's going to stop him. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just wants to destroy. He just wants revenge. And so, and he's funny while doing it, which also makes like this he has like this sociopathic edge to him.
Yeah.
So he's really fun to watch, and yet so frightening.
Yeah, and then for your character too, he's not somebody that you spend obviously any close time, but he is that threat that really sort of activates you. And I think what we really sort of see Jacob in this one is how far he's willing to go to protect his family.
Yep.
And so he is like the ultimate boogeyman in a lot of ways.
Well, that's kind of you know, one of the core values of Fast is family.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything, of the problem with having such a big family is you have to decide who to save. And that's a great through line, and I think Jason's character exploits that one sentence very well.
Yeah, one thing they definitely talk about in this franchise so much is, you know, who do you want to bring to it? Who do you want to like have join the franchise? I actually want to think about it differently, because just looking at this incredible cast, there's so many of you and all of you have a moment to shine. But I'm thinking about you like off type, like someone like you, John. Like you've been in like I think maybe one rom-com, but like who would you want to cast in like something different? Like maybe seeing Jason in like a horror comedy. Who else in the cast would you like to maybe see play outside of this sort of like action genre that we've seen you guys sort of play out in chapters through this entire franchise? Who would you want to see do something different?
Vin, since The Pacifier, hasn't done a comedy. I'd like to see Vin in a comedy or a musical.
That's
'Cause he
actually
breaks
what
into songs sometimes.
what Alan said is he wanted to see Michelle in a comedy, and he said Michelle was actually hinting at that's something that she wanted to do.
Oh, cool.
So like I think this is like has legs on it. I would like to see you in a musical. Just me.
Maybe time travel for the next Fast and have the entire cast in a period piece.
Oh my gosh! With like, wow,
Stagecoach
you
is
have
just like
thought
Or
about
Buster
this.
French Revolution. You know, like,
You have thought about this.
I don't know. Just saying.
Oh
We're in
my
Rome,
gosh.
ancient Rome. I don't know.
Thank you,
Toga,
Chariots.
Toga.
Oh my God! Thank you for the best answer to this question I will ever
Time
get.
travel.
Maybe this is the end. But you know what? I smell magic.
You all, I mean, where we are right now shooting this, got to participate in the Italy sort of, I'd say, like, epic stunt. I wouldn't even call it a stunt. It was an event. But what was it like sort of setting that up? Because it's crazy that this is the type of movie where they don't just CGI this. You guys come here, you shut down basically the Vatican. So what's that like for a day? Tyrese, I'll start with you.
I mean, honestly, nothing surprises me anymore. I think when it comes to movies, and people don't really look at it this way, but what better way to market, promote, and advertise your city, state, or country than to have Fast and the Furious to film anything? So, you know, if you were the minister of tourism and you had a budget to promote your movie, city, or country, or a vacation resort, and someone says, the Fast and the Furious wants to come to your resort and take over for a month, you'd be like, by all means. So it's as crazy as it sounds to take over countries the way we do. I think everyone ultimately is happy, you know? That's what happened in Abu Dhabi with Furious 7. Everybody was like, what's Abu Dhabi? The tourism has been off the charts, and we love to have access to these unlimited, exclusive places, but the people that are in politics, they know, like, man, this is gonna be seen around the world. People are gonna be coming to Rome after this film comes out, so why not let them have all access?
What was it like for you, Natalie, though, sort of setting up that day? Because it's not only just coming in. This is not a small shot. You guys get to do, I mean, that's just setting up that stunt. I know they put you guys in those cars, even though they don't have to really make sure you're doing it.
Okay, well, I think it's, like, important to just say, like, not all of that is shot here. Because there's a whole second unit.
No.
There's a whole, but I've got to be honest, sorry.
No.
But like there's a whole second unit that comes and does the amazing stunts, and like, you know, not all of us actually got to come to Rome.
I was here via green screen.
Oh,
right.
Really?
She was too.
So, you know, but we have these cool sets that look like they are just straight out of the city
Damn, they
in
really
London.
did fool me, though.
Right.
So
But
that's
that's
the first time you got to come here.
Well, I've been to Rome before
I mean,
many
but you got
times,
to
but
come-
for the
yeah.
movie, yeah, like this is the first time. But
They tricked us good.
they really,
Yeah,
but
see,
it's
that's
also
a
because
spoiler.
is it?
That hurts feelings.
No,
It's
it
okay.
doesn't.
Edit that out.
It's movie magic. It's all in. It's a lot of it is in pieces, and you know, also like you have to, for safety, contain
Kids are
parts of
crying.
it
True.
as well,
Yeah.
because you can't necessarily do certain
You
things
can't
in the
blow up
middle
the
of
Vatican.
right,
You can't really blow
and
it
you
up.
can't.
I mean, we
Exactly.
can pretend that they did.
Right.
drive through the
There's
streets.
also a safety element.
It's
so,
okay.
Yeah, but it,
Look, she's so hurt.
but what
She's
I will
crying.
say is that I was actually just independently visiting Rome, and I stepped outside of where I was staying and walked into the fast set, by the way. That was a complete
True.
coincidence. And then I saw this guy that kind of looked like Jason, but with dots on his face, walk past, and I was like, I think I'm on a
Oh, you
fast
were
set.
here while
I
we were.
just was here. It was
You
like,
were in Rome and they were doing shots.
They were doing,
Oh, that's wild.
As long
like-
as
and then
Oh.
I saw Jason, and then I was like, oh!
This is real.
Wow.
So
And
that
you
was
mean Jason Momoa, not
Yeah.
Jason
Statham.
Momoa.
Yeah,
Yes.
no.
You were
I knew who
in
you were
town
talking
on
about.
your own and ran into Jason Momoa while they
yeah,
were filming?
yeah.
Now, that's
I
incredible.
so that was fun
They
for
just
me.
couldn't,
So I
like,
technically
let you-
was on set, but wasn't supposed to be.
But let's
Wow,
be real,
that's
just the
incredible.
Fast franchise still pulled you in somehow,
Yeah,
like a magnet.
it was like, I think I confused a lot of people because they were like, "Wait, is she supposed to be here?"
Right,
like,
right.
just
She-
I was like,
keep 'em-
"No, I'm just
keep 'em
walking
guessing.
past
She
to
was
get
having-
a
you were having
coffee."
tea. You
Just
were
went to
I
go
was
get
just-
some ice cream.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
the script that you didn't get. I got that script. You missed that script. Sorry.
But it's so amazing to come to a city like Rome. I mean, it's so iconic and beautiful and antiquated, and then to bring the energy of our movie and the kind of drama and like the explosions and the action, it's such a great kind of juxtaposition, and to have it play out on such a stage is like, it feels iconic because Rome is an iconic city to me anyway. Like, so.
And we've definitely brought the icon. I mean, just where they have this premiere setup where you guys are going to be at, it's pretty exceptional. Scott, I will say your character, it's interesting. Every time anyone comes back, it's like no matter where they were in the last movie, they're in a different place in the next one, because it's like, you know, they just continue to add to the family, as we like to say. Little Nobody's in a completely different place this time around than he was the last time we saw him. What's that? You're just like...
Hey, go big or go home. I'm here to break the law this time.
I mean, it's really like he's switched allegiances slightly, but is that something that you sort of lean into because you know you'll get to do the more fun stuff?
Oh hell yeah, yeah. I think it's great. I think that's a fun evolution for the character.
I think all of you have gotten a bit of experience with this, and that is the incredible sort of like barbecue scene that you guys got to film. So tell me about what it was like filming that one, and just sort of adding in the little added bonus of Rita Moreno to the mix. So yeah, talk about that one, Tyrese.
I just could not get enough of Rita. I mean, it was like really warm and beautiful, and she definitely hit it out the park, but you could tell that these are words, but that's really who she is. She is beautiful, she is warm, she is funny, she's got a lot of wit and charm, and she also has a bottom line, just like her grandma.
I love that.
It's like no jokes. It's like, you know, we could crack a couple jokes. Like, hey. You know, so.
Also must have been tough for you.
Yeah, it was.
Said
What,
enough.
what about you? I saw you geek out a little bit, because who would not geek out about Rita Moreno?
Yeah, I had to work quite hard to kind of just, you know, be cool. But she was ever so sweet and so, like Tyree said, so warm. And it was, because I got quite a good seat at the table, just like in terms of the blocking, and watching her. Sorry, I was excited. I was like, I'm so close. This is amazing. Like up close, front row seat, to watching her work and watching her, you know, just be the artist that she is. Like, I was a little in awe, to be honest. And it's always really wonderful having everybody together as well. And it feels like familial. It is familial, but it's
family.
And also just because of the way where that scene is in the movie is very different this time. It kind of sets us up in this kind of warm, kind of big warm hug, and then it kind of
boom.
And usually we have the big warm hug at the end once we've been through everything, and it was just such a great send off for us into the film, because having that in our memories and our sort of energy before we go out into this mission, it sort of felt like we were set up really beautifully, and Rita was just so instrumental to that.
But the days where one man behind the wheel of a car can make a difference are over. It's time to prepare for what's coming.
You might want to buckle up.
Alan, Daniela, congratulations on the film. Alan, I'll start with you. It's a testament to your acting and your performance. Let me just say, your character inspires immediate dislike, vehement, instant dislike, and I will say it gets under my skin watching. But even like Dom, Vin Diesel, the man who's just cool as a cucumber. Why do you think he inspires this? Just like an instant.
He's real unlikable, that guy. You know? And also, this is what most people say when they meet me. I'm a very method.
I know. You're such a nice
just
man.
Just under my skin, instantly. I don't know you yet, but
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
The character.
No, that's great. I feel like maybe I did my job. Yeah. I don't, Vin. I don't know. Vin is like the nicest guy in the world. I can't even. Did I get under his skin?
I mean, on
screen,
cool. You definitely, I think, got under his. I definitely immediately.
Okay.
Like he was just like, okay, I don't like this guy. I'm not about it. But this, it's sort of the opposite in comparison to you. I will say, I think every girl who's watched a Fast and Furious movie dreams about the day they can line up next to Vin Diesel on a street race, and then you get the added bonus of Jason Momoa. What was that like?
It was so cool. I felt just like such a badass, and I was so proud to race with them and to be on almost like at least I felt that I was on the same level as them, but of course I'm not. But I was like, yeah, I can do this.
Can you drive like that? Can you drive?
Actually, on my everyday life, I'm always on the limit, and I'm the one like, come on, if we can go on, I don't know, but in Portuguese would be like 100. Why won't we go on 100? You know, so I'm very like, let's go.
Oh my God, yeah, no,
that's like 30 miles an hour. She drives like a grandma.
No, not at all.
That sounds insulting. That would be insulting. I remember a little bit about Brazil. They definitely like the pedal to the metal taxi drivers down there. They are aggressive. I believe her that she's having to go very far with it. I also want to talk to you both, though, about basically the entire sort of crew. I know you guys are new to the franchise and joining in at this one. Talk about that first day on set, because you know this is getting towards the end and you're part of these final chapters. You know, no pressure.
Totally. I mean, anytime you walk into a world where the family's been together for 25 years, it's hard not to be like, Like,
can I?
Yeah, can I come in? And there was such a good energy on set, and Vin several times was like, I think the energy on set feels better than it has in a long time. It's in any family, like, you kind of get into a cycle where you just sort of like, you're kind of on autopilot. And I don't know, it felt great. It just felt great, and everybody's so welcoming. It was extra scary for me because I was coming off another film and landed, had to go straight to set to shoot the scene, the scene where I was with Brie, giving basically all the exposition, like 5 pages of exposition.
No pressure.
So I showed up, I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm like so jet lagged right now. I don't know how this is gonna go. Didn't know anybody and just sort of thrown right in the fire. And I don't know, it worked, and it worked because everybody was like, so like, you got this, it's okay, we're here for you.
And that's what we disliked you. That's where it came from.
That's
so
why
that was
you hated
it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was jet lag that you didn't like. I can separate myself.
No
from
notes.
It. Yeah.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
What about you, Daniela? Was that your first day? Was it the racing scene?
Not the racing scene,
Okay.
but as I remember, my first day, I think it was the scene with Jason that he grabs me by the hair and everything.
On the bridge? Is it a bridge
Yeah, the
sequence?
bridge thing.
Wow.
And I mean, Jason is amazing. I always, like, the image that I still remember about him is he's a rock star.
Yes.
He's not for me, he's not a movie star, like a superstar. He's a rock star. Like, the rock is important.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we have Vin that is super thoughtful. For me, I saw like a lot of spirituality, and he's that kind of actor that pulls you on the side and is like, what are you feeling? What do you feel about being here? Are you grateful? You know, so it's like very thoughtful, and he makes us be in the moment and think about this moment that we're living. It's not a thing like we go there, we shoot the movie, and then a few months later, we're doing press and we think about the memories that we had. No, we were in the moment thinking about that. So it was really nice.
So mindful. I also have to get you to talk a bit about Jason, because I will say, it has already been said, he is literally, I think, one of the best male villains we've seen in this franchise, and that's saying something. In the 9th chapter, if you want to talk a little bit about him.
He was good. It's funny that she says that, because when I think of Jason on set, I think of the endless lineup of bass guitars that he has coming. It's like some kind of Pixar movie. He just sticks his hand out and somebody fills it with a bass guitar, and he's like, no, while we're blocking, and then he just, like, action, and somebody grabs it and runs out. The trouble that you have to go through to have that many guitars waiting, and like a guitar person that's there. I just want to get to the level where I have a guitar person.
I can have a puppy. I don't need a guitar. A puppy just so I can handle.
We all find ways to sort of like soothe ourselves through this process. I think one thing I like to do, especially with a cast this big, is there's so many folks that come from different things you've seen them from, or new folks that folks are just getting introduced to. But you honestly think everyone in this, they know action, they know heist movies, but you want to think about maybe what something else is. Like, so instead of asking you like, which one would you want to do for heist, which one of your castmates would you want to see do something off type? Like something like maybe Vin Diesel doing a musical, maybe like Jason Momoa in a rom-com. Like, I think there's a lot that like these guys could do that we haven't seen them in yet.
It was fun. I was just talking about this with Michelle last night. And we were talking about, she's like, I want to get into comedy. I think she is so funny.
Oh, I think you're right.
She would be so good at that. And it's kind of unexpected because she plays like the tough, brooding kind of awesome, badass chick. But to she's like an animated character when you talk to her.
Oh my God,
I think she'd be great at that.
I think you're absolutely right, because she's kind of got that in Dungeons and Dragons. She's kind of doing a little bit of comedy. I dig that. What about you? Anything you'd like to see somebody in, like different?
I don't know.
Helen Mirren in a musical would be cute, in my opinion. Or like Brie Larson in a horror comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Tyrese on a drama.
I can see that. I could see him doing like a nice, like really serious, like courtroom procedural type thing. I can dig that. I can dig that.
Jason Momoa in a Hallmark movie.
Oh my gosh, that one.
Let's bring that to life.
It's a setup. He's trying to tear us apart.
You bring a bit of royalty to everything you do, but especially to Queenie in this one.
Well, her name Queenie was a kind of a riff on doing the Queen, obviously, but also my aunt was called Queenie.
Oh,
and my mum, on my mother's side, we come from a very old working class London family. So Queenie is actually a very old working class kind of English name, London name.
Oh, I do love that, because on our side it's just like, well, of course that's exactly who she would play this.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, when you really think about it, I heard someone say, it's like, well, I would never picture the woman who like played the Queen to do an action movie. I was like, really? You have a long history with action and adventure. I think you've always been yearning to do more physicality. Has that been with these later chapters are is really you like hearkening to something you've always wanted to do, because you've really, since Red, leaned into this a lot.
Very much so. I mean, I love watching action films. I think they're so creative. I believe stunt people should get Oscar nominations, because nowadays so many films depend completely on the design and the execution of stunt work. So, and I find it very creative and very incredible fun to be a part of, and to watch the way a great stunt is put together. But also as an audience, you know, I mean, I'm in awe, I sort of gasp, I'm excited. To be a part of that creativity, you know, is wonderful. And it's obviously it's very different from having a 3-page monologue, you know, or creating a character like the Queen or like Golda or, you know, many of the other roles that I've played. It's an incredibly sort of fun way to earn a living.
And I will say this, like looking at something like, you know, 1923, where it's like, it's your melding of the two. It's your melding those incredible acting performances with incredible action.
That's
and I,
true.
You know,
yes, I never thought of that, but you're absolutely right. It's a great acting role, and hopefully, you know, already has been. You know, there's a lot of action, and hopefully will be more in the future. Yeah,
I love that. And one thing I also want to add to this too, with everything that you sort of bring to this, is, you know, they really sort of talk about the family of it, and obviously you have ties to that one. But I love hearing that you were the biggest action fan, because there's so many great action sequences that you are, I would say, more adjacent to than a part of. But are there ones that about this franchise or any action movie that you sort of like stand out and say, as somebody that's really admiring of the craft, I'm sure there's ones that you like stick in your mind and like, oh, I loved that stunt?
There was a stunt in the last Fast, I think it was the last Fast film or the one before that. And it was a car stunt that of course it was a car stunt. You know, I mean, clearly it was a car stunt.
Hard to make sure right on that one.
No, actually, you know what? It was red. It was red, and it was a stunt where it was because it was Bruce who sort of jumped out of a car as the car was moving round. It was an amazing moment, and I mean, I didn't watch them do that stunt, but it was like mind-blowing. How did you do that? How was that possible? It was, and of course in Fast and Furious you have many moments like that where you're just, you know, you're just in awe.
I love that. And I will say, as much as the family expands through all of these installments, it's so refreshing to hear that family members enlist others, because I've heard Charlize say on multiple occasions, if Helen does it, I'm signed up. So basically, anytime you want to do these, you know that you have a partner in tow. Is that kind of a bonus with this?
Yeah,
is like
kind of cool if in the end Queenie turned out to be Charlize's mother. Wouldn't that be cool?
I mean, are we talking
like
spin-off
way
already?
in the background.
I've heard several pitches today from movies, and I will say everyone that y'all have come up with, I feel like the folks that like Peter and Donna already know these pitches, and we just need to wait to see them happen.
Yeah.